Greetings, sports entertainment enthusiasts! This is CAW Acadian champion Homeless Bob, and you are currently watching Wrestle Geeks Recaps, catching you up on AEW Dynamite, NXT, and so very much more.
Welcome everybody to the first Wrestle Geeks Recaps for New Japan Pro Wrestling. This is your host, the Geek Trevor Firth, and I'm being joined by... I'm being joined by Team Tiger Driver at this point. These guys used to have their own thing going before. They're one of the group of people who inspired me to go on and start this channel. So I'd like to introduce my three co-hosts for this show. I have the Mark, Juicy J.
Hey, what's up, guys? And nice to be on your show, Trevor. Thank you for inviting us.
Of course. I have the New Yorker, JP.
Yo. What's going on, Trev? Nice to finally meet you. It's awesome to be here.
Thanks, man. Nice to meet you, too. And we have the accountant, L Blue.
Yo, what's up? Thanks for bringing us to the show, man. Excited.
So, I figure what we're going to be doing on the show is we're going to be recapping New Japan Strong primarily. That's going to follow the traditional format of the channel of just going through the different segments and recapping them for you guys so you guys can get ready for the new episode tonight. Then we're going to throw it over to Team Tiger Driver. They're going to handle some of the more core storylines going on in Castle Attack. So please like, share, subscribe, and we're going to start with the day one of New Beginnings USA, February 9th, New Japan Strong episode. So, first, guys, how do you guys feel about New Japan Strong in general? Like a success story overall, or a weak incursion into America? JP?
I think with the way New Japan Strong has been basically produced and utilized thus far, it's basically turning lemonade into lemons because, for the longest time, New Japan has been on the cusp of trying to expand into the Western market, primarily into the United States. And they've had some pretty awesome results in the past couple of years. And I think this is finally going to be their actual foray into being showcased, on American soil consistently. However, pandemic happened, and I feel like that kind of knocked the wind out of the sails a little bit, especially because you can't really have audiences, because they do production out of California to kind of mitigate the risk of spreading COVID. They don't have a lot of audience members in the crowd. I think it's primarily limited to just staff and production.
It's mostly just young boys in that, yeah. It's young lions.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, in spite of that, I feel like they have definitely showcased, an extension of the roster into the Western market. Like I said, I mean, now you have guys like, Filthy Tom Lawler. You have Fred. I forget his name, but formerly of WWE.
Fred
Ross. Oh yeah, he's going to be on this. He's on this card.
I think we have a bad signal.
Oh,
here you go. All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, man.
Okay, yeah, great. Like I said, the thing that I've found really awesome about this show is that it showcased a lot of guys that are up and coming on the indies that I feel like we're on the cusp of maybe signing to other companies. And like I said, you have, Filthy Tom Lawler that's featured prominently on the show now. You have Danny Limelight, who's also of AEW fame now, who's been featured prominently on AEW. Not to mention, Dirty Daddy, Chris Dickinson, as well as Fred Armisen, formerly of the WWE, who's, I think, he has the potential to showcase, I think, a more athletic side to his personality. Because, like I said, in WWE, he was primarily relegated to tag teams and being like a lower name on a faction, where he did have the athleticism. So I feel like it's definitely allowed people to be showcased. And I think on an economic standpoint, especially during this pandemic where it's essentially wiped out, indie shows, it's allowed a lot of American wrestlers to have another revenue stream where they're like, okay, I can't work these like I used to, but I can go work here if they want me. And maybe, that AEW is not an option for them at this point. At least there's New Japan Strong going on. And like I said, I think they've turned this show from a lemons into lemonade situation as best as they could, and I feel like it's been it's been great for what it is. Like I said, you can't beat having crowds. I mean, crowds are such a vital part of pro wrestling. But for what it is, I think they've done the best that they've absolutely could, given the terrible circumstances of the past year.
No,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
I have to agree mostly. Jay, you too?
Yeah, I just think they should just have more fun with it. Well, before I even go into that, also wanted to mention on the commentary, I love Kevin Kelly, but not oh man, his name escapes me right now. But
Alex
Alex
some-
Koslov.
Alex
yeah,
Crosby. Thank you.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, he's a little he's not he can't yeah, he needs some work, but I mean he'll get there eventually. Kevin Kelly is always is awesome. But what I mentioned earlier as far as having more fun with it, I think you should just let loose and just because they're trying to imitate or be like New Japan, and I mean
A
since
little
it
too much, right?
yeah, a little too much, and they should just have, like I said, I keep saying this, but have more fun with it. Do some. Even though they have storylines, maybe they should just have more intricate storylines because they just, I mean, sprinkle it here and there, but they should just have more going on. They have the interview sometimes with Kevin Kelly, that they like preview the following week what they're gonna show. But
Yeah.
man, just to have more storylines, maybe have some people in the backstage, maybe have some fights back there. I don't know, just give me more fun stuff, make it their own thing. And I think if they do that, they could have a lot more fun with it and also showcase all these indie guys that are being there. Because I mean, the indie guys are having good matches and it's good for them, like JP just said. But again, it's just that they should just do more, is what I think. And they would eventually get there and get to be considered a different, be something different than New Japan and still be part of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'd like to see them take advantage of those post-match interviews
Yeah,
with usually the winners, but sometimes losers.
yeah.
I'd like to see them take advantage of that a little bit more. Anything to add, Blue?
No, I agree. I agree with Jerry completely. Have a lot more fun with it. I know with guys like Filthy Tom, I've really enjoyed watching Filthy both here and in MLW. I think his stable, the Team Filthy, it actually feels like a legitimate stable now because they're across multiple promotions. You see them in
Yeah.
what's that other, the Bloodsport. JR Kratos is a monster. Danny Limelight. Looks like he's part of it. I know they had this guy recently went up to NXT. Rust, I forget his first name, but no,
Oh, Tyler Rust, I think.
Tyler Rust. Yeah,
Yeah.
he looked great too. Um, but especially with the LA Dojo guys, I know they're kind of going through the New Japan system, but as they graduate, give them a little bit more creative freedom, some more personality in that end because you want to build up these guys from the inside. And the young lion thing only goes so far. So once they're kind of been through, they've got Shibata's blessing, which I think recently, it was Clark Connors that it was said he graduated. Let him have a little bit more creative freedom.
He's bet on Bloodsport, so I'm pretty sure it's him. Yeah.
Yeah. So and let them kind of spread their wings a little bit and kind of develop more personality, kind of like Juice Robinson. That guy's pretty big in Japan.
Oh,
Somehow
absolutely.
he just understands it. So that's what I would consider a little bit more of a success story going through the New Japan Young Lion system that they have. But yeah, definitely have a lot more fun with it. Making the matches are great. I like that they still they stay true to the New Japan style with the announcing and everything. It still feels like a New Japan show, but now a little bit Americanized for our take. But
Yeah.
yeah.
One of my favorite, personal favorite things that I've first of all, shout out to Bateman because that guy is so cool. But I love watching him go. But no, having Leo Rush and TJP teaming up on this, being on the same team, right? Having somebody from that prominent on MLW, that prominent on Impact together in New Japan Strong, really to me that elevated what New Japan Strong could be, right then and there.
For
But
sure.
yeah. Go
Yeah,
for
for
it.
sure.
Tyler.
They're playing with the forbidden door, just kind of how AEW likes to tease, and now they're gonna get John Moxley too. So
Yeah.
they it kind of becomes this fantasy booking, almost like Marvel Universe type thing, where you're getting guys from all over, and Strong is not afraid to put one that they don't get into, like, they don't book themselves into a corner. It's like
Mm.
it's in neutral territory almost for them. So that's definitely one of the coolest things. Yeah.
So we'll go into the card February 19th. The first match is an opening. The opening match is a 6-man tag. So you have Adrian Quest, Mysterioso, and Rocky Romero versus Barrett Brown, Ray Horace, and the DKC. And the story of this match is mostly that DKC has gotten is now one of Shibata's students. Ray Horace has already gotten a win, and Barrett Brown has yet to get his first win. So overall, the match was pretty good, but I did like how they put the emphasis. Like, Barrett did look that much hungrier than his teammates. He looked desperate towards the end of it, and the fact that he was going up against Rocky Romero at the end, with all the reversals on the like at some point, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. But Barrett Brown tried to like suplex him, and they just started reversing each other constantly, really, really quickly. And then like a suplex got reversed into a brainbuster, which Rocky transitioned into an armbar at some point. Like, really cool stuff on that part. But I had fun with this little match. It was what it was, and it ends with him tapping out because of that armbar. With Brown tapping out because of the armbar. And after the match, Brown is trying to Brown is pissed off and furious and losing it, and his teammates are trying to calm him down, telling him he'll get his win eventually. But I mean, the commentary was putting over pretty intensely how, like, if he doesn't get this win soon, he's probably not going to be here much longer. So, Jay, how do you feel about this match?
Well, first I want to say that I love how the ring announcer announces the DKC because he just yells it like the DKC. I don't know why I like it so much.
Yeah.
Every time I listen to that, I think it's awesome. But I think I love this match because of the matchup between Mysterioso and Ray Horus. Because Misterioso is cool because he's a big dude, but he can do all the lucha stuff. And Ray Horus, of course, they compare him to Ray Phoenix, and because I think myself, I think he's better than Ray Phoenix, Ray Horus,
Okay.
and personally, I always liked him more. So it's awesome that he's in New Japan and New Japan Strong. But I like that matchup, what they show, of course their moves, what they were showcasing for us. So I think it was a fun match.
Blue, you got anything to add about it, or anything that stood out to you?
No, yeah, I mean, I agree with Jerry. I do like this, like, little bit of storytelling going on with Barrett Brown. He's gonna get desperate enough for a win to join, a stable. That's one thing also with Strong. New Japan's very reliant on the stable system, and
Yeah.
you can kind of see groups forming with some of the wrestlers. Like, there's the LA Dojo guys, and then there's, like, Rocky Romero's group, and Team Filthy, obviously the most prominent one. But it's like, when is it finally going to be like they're going to make their own stable? I think that's one of the biggest stories too with New Japan Strong, when they get stables going. Are they going to form extensions of Chaos or extensions of something from Japan, or just do something brand new altogether, like a kind of Bullet Club esque, team of gaijins that eventually are going to go to Japan? That's something that's interesting, developing from here.
Yeah, I'd like to see a mix of that. Like a couple of extensions, but a couple new things would be really cool. Like LIJ wouldn't make sense to have an extension. Bullet Club would and does. But
Hmm.
like it'd be really cool. JP, what do you think?
You
I
could. Oh, sorry, JP, to cut you off, but I was just gonna say you should definitely have an extension of the United Empire since
Oh,
it has
that'd be
Jeff
cool.
Cobb. I think that one you definitely need to have there. Um, but
That'd be a good idea.
yeah. But what were you gonna say, JP?
No, it's just like I completely agree with the sense of there should be some extensions of New Japan, but one of my gripes lately with the factions in New Japan is that I feel like it's now overdue for a mix up. Because like I said, if you rewind, within the past at this point 15 years, like in 2009, 10, you had GBH going on. You had Chaos that came out of GBH, and then you had um of course you had you know the group that was with Tenzan and Kojima Gun that basically fell into Suzuki Gun with that fallout. And there was a big change, and then Bullet Club, followed within 3 years later. And now the only new faction you really have going on is just really United Empire. And I feel like right now, more than ever, I really feel like there needs to be a mix-up of factions in New Japan to keep things interesting, because I feel like the Chaos stable outside of Okada and maybe Goto and
Yeah.
Ongi 3K, it's kind of a stale group, and I feel like any minute now the Bullet Club is going to run its course. I feel like it's run its course personally. It had several years ago, and I feel like they kind of missed the mark on potentially ending it on a storyline note when there was the infighting between the Bucks and the Gorillas of Destiny. So I feel like with New Japan Strong, there's a lot of potential to come up with new factions and have them come over to Japan, because I know so many of them have expressed strong interest to finally be able to compete, in the main promotion. So I really feel like to kind of caveat off of what was said earlier, is that I think make this show uniquely its own. While it's still New Japan, but make it slightly different so that way it has its own unique character. And with that being said, allow new groups to kind of blossom out of that to keep things interesting once travel restrictions get dropped and factions can kind of go back and forth. I think it'll make for a lot more compelling storylines in the long run.
But with Bullet Club, them trying to recreate it in a sense, because I know with Impact and AEW, they're trying to bring the Bullet Club back to what it was, I think, in my opinion. So do you think that with the Bullet Club, it should bleed into Strong? And maybe, because it might have to, just to combine everything.
I mean, there's been some little bits and pieces of that, because like I said, you did have El Phantasmo running roughshod, during that Best of the Super Juniors tournament, where he had that little
Yeah.
rivalry going on with Leo Rush. And then, of course, he did have Switchblade make a couple of appearances early on. So it does kind of bleed in. I just would like to see kind of new things kind of blossom out of New Japan Strong, and then eventually introduce that into the mainland, when you go back to Japan, when travel restrictions are. I just feel like the Bullet Club thing is playing out as it's playing out right now. And I mean, that's kind of outside of the New Japan thing. It's kind of bleeding into the Impact Wrestling and AEW crowd now. But I really do feel like there's so much potential for new things to happen with this show. And I think they should capitalize on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, like, I'm very fed up with the idea that, like, oh, this is the new big heel of New Japan, so he's the leader of Bullet Club now.
Yeah.
Like, that, I'm fed up with that storyline.
Yeah.
Because, like, I loved Evil turning. The storyline of Evil turning on Naito was great, but Evil being the new leader of the Bullet Club is really bad, in my opinion.
Yeah, I hate Evil, so don't get me started on Evil.
So, second match of the night, we have Hikuleo versus Fred Rosser, formerly of WWE fame. So, this wasn't even like much of a back and forth match, as much as for me it was just Rosser doing everything to fight that giant, being like to fight the giant that is Hikuleo, and eventually Hikuleo just trying to cheat to win, fighting on the outside. But there's a couple great moments, like apparently Rosser's the first one to kick out of Hikuleo's chokeslam, which is nice to hear from commentary right away. Because even Kevin Kelly sold it for me when that happened, because Kevin Kelly's like, okay, chokeslam and it's over. Like, he sounded like so, you know what I mean? Like, it's like a fan watching at home in that moment. Like, okay, match is over. And I kind of like, I really believed it in that moment. I felt it, like that was it. And then he kicked out, and he kept going. But Fred eventually gets the win when he does a backslide on Hikuleo, but pulls on the hair to keep him down. And like, I'm not sure how that would really help that much, to be honest. But Fred won by cheating, and Hikuleo was pissed because he's the one who's supposed to cheat and to win. So overall, it was really fun, good match. I had fun with it. Like, I really enjoyed it as well. Hikuleo has come a long way so far, and I cannot wait to see where he goes in the future. And yeah, like JP had said earlier, Fred Rosser, I feel like is finally starting to rebuild his name after everything that happened in WWE is when he was Darren Young. Blue, what were your opinions on the match, man? How'd you feel about it?
So I hadn't seen Fred Rosser in a while. I feel like he kind of has been under the radar, but he looks great here in New Japan, like in shape wise. Hikuleo, I've always my issue with Hikuleo since he started. I know he's young, and him losing is just mainly due to inexperience and not power, because he's like a big dude. He should like. I feel like back in the day, I feel that when, before the internet and everything, they would probably put a mask on this guy or just make him look dangerous and have him not lose at all. But like, I understand why he lost. It was because of lack of experience, not because, Fred Rosser was the tougher guy. He was just more experienced than him. So I think the storytelling's there. With Hikuleo, it's just like for guys his size in this day and age, it's kind of hard because how is he supposed to lose to guys like half his size sometimes? Like, in New Japan, he's supposed to kind of overpower. And, if he keeps getting outsmarted every time, it's just the booking would just be, it's like he gets outsmarted. And eventually, he's either got to become the monster or he's just going to be one of these like kind of big, intimidating guys, kind of like Fale in Japan. Kind of the way he's booked, he's bigger than almost everybody else. He can kill you, but it's like sometimes either through his own means or through just being outsmarted, he loses. So that's what I see with Hikuleo. I think there's potential for him to kind of expand on his character or something a little bit, where either make him a monster or just, like I said, make him like a pupil to someone, and that'll kind of excuse why a 6'8" guy is being. I mean, Fred Rosser's pretty big too. I'm gonna give him that. I think he's about at least 6'5", right? I don't know. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit, but
he's over 6 feet. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So him being, where his background and everything, it makes sense. But eventually for Hikuleo, it's either going to be like he's got to go on a winning streak or something. That's what I fear for him in the indies in general, because not a lot of guys can kind of come up to his height and his strength when you put it on paper. But overall, yeah, no, good match. He got outsmarted. The hair thing, yeah, I kind of agree. It's a little silly, but hey, it's still, Leo still looks strong. He just kind of, they got one up on him, and then they might be a rematch or something. They definitely have to work on. I don't know if Strong is eventually going to get any title belts or something for them to all fight for. It's going to kind of be like the developmental territory for the U.S.
I'm going to give my prediction on that a little later.
Okay. But yeah, I'll let somebody else take the floor.
Yeah. JP?
Like I said, with Hikuleo, like I said, I think his time in England served him really, really well. It has served him really well, and it's kind of allowed him to kind of develop his in-ring ability. I still think he has, clearly he has a lot of, if he's able to stay healthy, he has a lot of years ahead of him. And it clearly shows in the ring. Like I said, he's still very green in a lot of aspects, and you could tell that even even though Fred Rosser hasn't been active up until this past year, you could still tell he was leading Hikuleo. He was definitely leading that match. You could read. But I still think that Hikuleo has a lot of potential. I think one of the things that Hikuleo needs to do, and I think he has done, especially since he was, still a young lion, is that he needs to bulk up. I think I think it would serve him best to bulk
Yeah.
up. I mean, he has done a little bit. He has. You could tell. Because when he was a young lion, he was very, very, very scrawny. And even, his other brothers and God were kind of like, geez, man, how are you related to me? Because, like, you're so skinny. Like, you're so skinny. You're so tall. But you could tell he's starting to beef up. And I think that would help him develop his in-ring arsenal as well as his presence by bulking up.
I just want to throw in, like, Tama's never been that big either. Like, Tama's he's cut, he's built, he's in great physical shape, pretty much always has been. But Tama's not that big compared to a lot of other guys in New Japan, right? So, like, yeah, Hikuleo should be the biggest of the three. Like, he needs to bulk up. I agree. Jay?
Yeah, I think you guys said most of it. The only I wanted to add is Fred Rosser is them making him. It seems like they're trying to make him the face of New Japan Strong because he's always on the show, either on commentary or having a match. Of course, you have other people that you're trying to showcase too, but I think from what I remember, you guys could correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like he's one of the guys that want to push more, which is good. It's just that the way they're trying to use him, it seems like it's kind of like a quote unquote John Cena type. And I think he needs to get away from that that way everybody can forget all his WWE stuff and just be his own thing. Is what I think, and Hikuleo kind of it's gonna be hard for him to get out of the shadow of his brothers in the Bullet Club. Maybe it'll be cool to see him maybe go to the United Empire, and that way he could also separate himself from all of that. Just again, like we kept saying, like make New Japan Strong something different and something creative and innovative. So, just want to add that.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you on that. When it comes to roster, yeah, I will say like he's definitely being propped up as like the veteran face.
Yeah.
Of Strong. He's the guy with the most experience on the roster. Is how they present him to be.
Yeah.
Other than like Kenta. Oh, we get the cleaning commercial next. And I will just say I love these commercials so much. They're so good.
They're the best. What's the name of the little towels? I just watched it recently. I don't remember.
I don't even remember the name of them. It doesn't matter. Like
they say like a million times, but yeah, it's.
If I could order them in Canada, then maybe.
Maybe. Aren't they called like Kohaji-kun? Kohaji-kun, whatever. Something.
Yeah. So good. So match 3, main event of this episode, we have El Phantasmo versus Leo Rush. And El Phantasmo is just himself, taking his time with his intro, doesn't care. The more Leo Rush talks to him, the longer he takes to take off his shirt. Throws the bottle of water at commentary. Like, I really enjoy Phantasmo just in general. I've been watching him for... I think the first time I saw him was What Culture Pro Wrestling, something like that. I've enjoyed him for a long time, and I will admit, like I like it when he's on commentary with Kevin Kelly over on like actual New Japan. It's really fun as well. But he does the weirdest things too, like he does nipple twists, and he does this like the guy plays his character so well. I'm too cool, I don't give a shit, I'm just gonna it doesn't matter what I do, I'm gonna win. And somehow he does. That's like Phantasmo is so fun to watch go because you never know how he's gonna pull it off. But this time it's a ref bump, and then he basically like knocks Leo Rush out with the super kick. Is the way they make it look, because Leo Rush sold it like a gunshot. And then Phantasmo made a bunch after the match. He makes a bunch of references, calling himself like, "Oh, well, I'm the man of the century. I'm the man of the universe." And then he keeps going, and he's like, "Rick and Morty shout out season 1, yeah!" And then he just walks away. But Leo Rush, for me, Leo Rush is like, he's the reason I'm watching New Japan Strong primarily. I will admit, like I want to watch MLW. I don't always have the time to watch MLW, but I know for a fact I'm going to get a great Leo Rush performance. out of New Japan Strong every time, because he has not disappointed me once so far. I don't know if you guys have been enjoying the Leo Rush stuff in New Japan as much as I have, but he's my main reason right now. I can't speak enough good about him, and Phantasmo is just crazy, ridiculously fun to let go and just unleash and just talk, do whatever you want. Like, he plugged his freaking pro wrestling T-shirt at, at the beginning of the match. Like, Phantasmo can almost do no wrong. Just let him go. Jay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Phantasmo's always fun. Phantasmo's always fun to watch. I know when we were doing our show, we would always talk about that time when what did he do, JP? I think he hit a little kid or he made fun of a little kid.
What?
He
Do you remember?
I want to say he took a hat off of a
Oh
special
yeah.
Oh, no.
and threw the hat across the venue.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Okay.
That's the only thing that he's done that kind of didn't, sit with me, because I mean the kid was a special needs kid.
Yeah.
But in general, I enjoy Phantasmo's heel work, and I feel like some of the nuances of his heel work is kind of lost in translation in front of a Japanese crowd, but in front of like New Japan Strong or whatever else, the commentary catches it all. They catch it all.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
just why they absolutely despise El Phantasmo.
Yeah, Phantasmo's evil. Everybody hates him, man. Especially Alex. What did you say his name was? Alex. Always.
Alex Kozlov.
There you go.
Alex Kozlov.
You guys gonna have to
He
keep
really
helping me with the
doesn't
lesson.
like.
Yeah, he hates him.
Like,
Despises him. Yeah, but that's a fun part of him to listen to, is when he really gets into how much he hates El Phantasmo. So that's fun. And yeah,
that was
Leo
the
Rush.
best- that was
What's
the best
that?
commentary of the night from him
Yeah.
by far. Sorry, didn't want to cut you off, but I had to.
No,
Say
no,
it.
you're good. No, yeah, definitely agree. And Leo Rush, he's everywhere right now. He was in Game Changer, and
Mhm.
so he's trying to be Leo, the famous Leo Rush that he used to be. So which is cool. He
Yeah.
always has good matches, so that's awesome.
Blue.
Yeah, just to add more to it, like if they do like an American junior division, these two are definitely like the top guys in it right now in New Japan Strong. They would be kind of on top of that.
Yeah.
Leo Rush is always fun to watch. It'd be amazing to go see him, compete in a Best of the Super Juniors. And I think I don't know if he's done it in the past actually, or if he's never done it, but I know Phantasmo has done at least one. But if they do like a junior division in the U.S., that definitely these two guys would be, the headliners. The Phantasmo's basically what a Bullet Club member should be, just rowdy and just a real piece of
Yeah.
work. I think if anybody defines what Bullet Club is now, that's probably him. It's just kind of rowdy heel to the core. And yeah, it's like Leo Rush has been a real workhorse. He's been multiple companies. I don't know if he's going to commit to somewhere. Or is it just kind of be this independent kind of working in multiple places, kind of how ACH was at some point, or I know multiple wrestlers have done that. So, but I definitely see a future for both of them. Both in Strong and in New Japan.
JP.
No, I think that's to kind of caveat off of that. I think one of the brilliant things about the current time of wrestling that we're living in is that you get to see wrestlers across multiple different promotions. Like I said, I am also a fan of Leo Rush, tragically underutilized in the WWE, just
Yeah.
relegated to being a mouthpiece. And perhaps he did rub some people off the wrong way, but I feel like he's definitely making up for it now in terms of the trajectory of his career. I mean, I think it's so brilliant that in Game Changer Wrestling, he has like an alter ego that's kind of like an offshoot of the idea of like a Great Muta off of Keiji Muta, where like you push Leo Rush enough, he's going to go to his dark side, and you see that a lot more in a Game Changer. I think there's potential of that to be used in a New Japan Strong, and then of course him in MLW is brilliant. He's absolutely.
I'd love to see the Blackheart in New Japan Strong.
Absolutely. And I think it would totally work. It would totally work. It's very Muta. It's very Muta-like, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be kind of cool to see that in New Japan, where you see a wrestler have an alter ego that comes out. I mean, we saw Kishin Liger, at this point 2 years ago, go against Minoru Suzuki and come up short, but it was still cool to see Kishin Liger come out. So I think Lio Rush, if they utilize him properly, and I think that they are, that I think he could be not only just a big star for the New Japan Strong brand, but just for New Japan as a whole, as a top junior heavyweight. Absolutely.
Yeah. I find I don't know if they really have to do a junior heavyweight division for the US brand itself, because I'm not sure of the circumstances, but Hiromu had to vacate, didn't he?
Yeah, recently.
Yeah. So the title is open, and I'm going to be honest, when it comes to actual cruiserweights in New Japan itself right now, a lot of them have already had the belt, or a lot of them have, I feel like they've done a lot over there with it. It's kind of run its course, and there's some pretty awesome cruiserweight wrestlers or junior heavyweight wrestlers over here. And a lot of them already appear on New Japan Strong. Now, you have TJP, you have Lio Rush, you have Phantasmo. These guys are here every week already. And that's the big guys. That's just the bigger names. There's some of the lower card guys that would do really well. Like DKC could be entertaining to watch in that division.
Absolutely.
Yeah, can I say it again? The DKC.
Yeah.
I would love it if for the best of the Super Juniors they had maybe how they have Group A, Group B. If they had an American group and then a Japanese group, kind of how they're doing with the AEW women's tournament. Yeah, that would be fun. And there's your chance to bring the belt overseas and kind of create something there and give a lot of guys exposure that want to be in the junior heavyweight division and compete there. That would be fun. Because isn't it usually, I don't know if the best of the Super Juniors is as big as the G1, but it's 20 guys, and I don't think they have 20 guys in Japan right now. So we'll see.
I really, really, really like cruiserweight wrestling in general. So Super Juniors to me is bigger than G1. For me as a fan personally, I prefer the Super Juniors, but it's personal preference when it comes to that stuff. But next, on what would be tonight's episode from when this gets posted, we have finally Jon Moxley versus Kenta. And I feel like Kenta's going to win it. Because let's face it, New Japan Strong is the US branded show, and the US branded title is not here.
Yeah.
So I think Kenta's going to win it. And even if he's kind of a transitionary champion to somebody else, which I don't know who that would be right now, but Kenta's going to be how they get that belt back into New Japan.
Agree.
That's my opinion.
He's defended that briefcase more than Moxley has actually defended the belt. So it's kind of overdue for Kenta. I'm sure there's going to be some. A bunch of interference or something in Kenta's favor. I'm pretty sure AEW wouldn't just let him just lose clean to Kenta. So it'll probably be a bunch of what's it called? Just a bunch of interference and stuff going on to get Kenta down. Or I mean Moxley.
That, but everything everything Moxley is gearing up to do, right? Mm-hmm. He was on Bloodsport.
Yep.
He was on Bloodsport 5. And I saw one of those moves that one of the suplexes he took on that show was really brutal. I'm like, man, Bloodsport, you're gonna get hurt. You can get severely hurt doing Bloodsport. So the fact that AEW is letting him do that, I don't know, man. I think it's Moxley's call how he loses that belt. Moxley and New Japan's called. I don't think it's Tony Khan's call at all. I don't think AEW has anything to do with it. JP?
I'm pretty sure, at this point, because, like I said, Moxley has held the belt for so long and hasn't been able to defend it due to the travel restrictions as well as contractual restrictions prior to what happened on Dynamite 2 weeks ago. I don't see John Moxley continuing as
No,
U.S.
yeah.
champion. I definitely think Kenta will win it. I don't think it's going to be a clean finish. I think it'll set something up for much later down the road. John Moxley also has a baby,
Mhm.
and coming up, and I'm pretty sure he wants to have some time with his wife to take care of his take care of his family, take care of his home, and not to mention not to get too sidetracked, but of course he has the exploding barbed wire death match that's happening,
Yep.
in AEW in what, a week and a half, 2 weeks, and that's historical. I have a feeling like all these things that he's kind of being attacked on all fronts. I think that's going to cost him the U.S. title. I think he's going to start losing momentum, start going on a losing streak, and then kind of exit stage left for a little while. Cool, like I said, he's had an amazing year and a half, 2 years of his career since leaving the WWE. But I really feel like the one thing that New Japan Strong is lacking right now is a belt to fight over. I mean, so far they've had tournaments, and I think that U.S. belt will be kind of like the centerpiece of that show once they get it back. Now it'll truly turn competitive.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody wants a shot at that belt. Like they'll put some equity into that belt once it's on the show consistently.
Couldn't agree with you more on that one.
Yeah, I think I agree with JP and you guys. I think definitely Kenta defeats Moxley, and because I mean they just need to have a fighting champion and just keep having matches with that title. So because you have so many guys, and I don't know if I think you were going to tell us your thoughts on what they're going to do with another title, Trevor. I don't know if you're going to do it right now.
That was the junior heavyweight title.
Oh, junior heavyweight. Oh, okay.
I was thinking, like, since they had to vacate it because of Hiromu and Phantasma was gearing up to be the next contender again,
Yeah.
kind of. It's what they felt like they were doing. I'm like, well, bring it over to New Japan Strong and use some of the American guys. But I like Blue's idea too of doing like the like half of the Super Juniors being an American bracket and the other half being Japanese bracket. Like that sounds really cool too.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I thought you meant they were gonna have like a TV title or something.
No, just I think they could take a belt from New Japan, bring it to New Japan Strong for a little bit, do a storyline or two, and then bring it back to New Japan, bring a different belt, bring the never open weight this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Things like that.
Yeah, I mean they used to do that with guys from Mexico. I know, like when Dragon Lee would win the belt, he'd bring it over here and probably defend it somewhere in Mexico for like a month and then go back and defend it. And now you finally have that platform in the U.S. where he just doesn't disappear from New Japan for a month. You see him defending it. Same thing with the never open weight title. I think Ishii took it to the UK for a bit.
Pretty sure he did, yeah.
Yeah, or he won it in the UK, one or the other, and now you have that platform to like, hey, he took it to Strong, defended it, and it just kind of it keeps this, the sequential title defenses that you don't see sometimes. But yeah, no, definitely, I agree that having the belts there will put a little bit more, prestige and more at risk for all these guys there in Japan in Strong. They'll be fighting for a belt.
Yeah. So that's everything for New Japan Strong this week.
Oh, and did you? I just wanted to mention that tonight too. When this episode is released, tonight too, Dickinson's gonna have a match with Narita, and I just wanted to say Narita's gonna get demolished.
Yeah, probably.
I will say that out of all the new competitors that have been featured on New Japan Strong, I think Chris Dickinson definitely embodies that classic New Japan spirit of like the 90s in terms of his
how
style.
they see American wrestlers, you mean?
No. I mean,
okay.
Chris Dickinson embodies what New Japan was back in the 90s in terms of his style of wrestling.
Oh, okay.
In terms of his style of wrestling, you could clearly see how much he's inspired by, by the classic, Three Musketeers of New Japan in the 90s with, Chono, Hashimoto, and Muta, back then. And the way that he wrestles, it echoes Hashimoto to a T, the way that he wrestles. It echoes, that 90s Strong style, and to a degree, even that, that King's Road style from All Japan. I mean, the guy talks about how much he loves, watching guys like Akiyama and Kawada. And I really do hope at some point hopefully within near future, we'll see, pandemic notwithstanding, that we'll see Chris Dickinson over in a New Japan ring overseas in Japan, mixing it up with a lot of guys, because I feel like his style complements so many people. Also, we were robbed of him versus Suzuki at a Game Changer last year. We were robbed. That was going to happen. Also, him versus Shingo Takagi was going to happen, and that didn't end up happening because of the pandemic. So those are right there, two hard-hitting matches that should have happened that didn't happen. Now they absolutely have no reason why they can't happen.
No, you're right. So Road to Castle Attack. When it comes to actual New Japan, the main storylines going on in the mainline, like in the mainland stuff. Where are we at with that stuff, guys? Like, I haven't been following 100%. I have a lot of stuff I've been watching and organizing all this stuff for the channel, so I try, but
one thing we definitely have to talk about, and I mean, not to kind of get the bad news out of the way, is that unfortunately Hiromu did suffer a pectoral tear, and he'll be out from 6 to 12 months. Of course, forfeiting his match to give it to Desperado. To give it to I apologize, my mind is going blank suddenly. His stablemate in LIJ.
Bushi? Bushi.
Excuse me. I don't know why I forgot that part. Excuse me, guys. But I do think that Bushi has kind of been overshadowed for the past couple of years. And, like I said, it's kind of hard to compete against guys when you have someone as awesome as Naito, and then Shingo Takagi is a beast. And then, of course, Hiromu is, not to mention just an insane man of a wrestler, but he also has charisma, oozing out of his pores. I mean, the guy's charisma and connection with the crowd is that similar to like a young Shinsuke Nakamura back in the 2010s.
He could very easily be like one of my. I think he's probably in my top 3. Well, he's definitely in my top 3, but he could be like one of my top, like the top guy for me in New Japan right now.
Absolutely, and I feel like for Bushi, the thing that I think he's kind of lacked trying to establish himself as a presence within not only New Japan but also within his faction, because you got a lot of power players in that faction that are charisma magnets and also just amazing workers. So hopefully Bushi will take this opportunity when he goes against Taiji Ishimori and utilize this opportunity to show people, hey, like, I've been overlooked for far too long. Like, I too am capable of holding that title, and we'll see how that goes. I hope he capitalizes off it. I think he needs to, because I think for too long he's been overshadowed.
Yeah, because did you guys see that they were gonna have the 3-way?
What?
They're gonna have on Castle Attack because of Hiromu's injury. What's gonna happen is a 3-way. El Fantasma against Bushi against El Desperado on night 2 of Castle Attack.
Oh.
And that just got announced today. So that's gonna be great. And especially with like we were just talking about El Fantasma, all his antics. And El Desperado, he's on this new high that he's having right now with all these great matches. So it's going to be cool. And again, with JP, what he just said of Bushi, hopefully he can, redeem himself. I think it's his time to do that.
I mean, if Phantasmo wins it, Phantasmo brings, like, they could do the storyline, bring it overseas, and him and Leo Rush have been feuding in New Japan Strong. So all of a sudden, Leo Rush, which I pitched this on a different show the other night. On the Impact recap, I pitched this for Leo Rush. Yeah. Leo Rush just won the AAA cruiserweight title, and he's the MLW middleweight champion. And I'm just like, send him to Impact. Let him win the X Division. Let him win the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. Right? Like, I want Leo Rush to create the new version of the fucking Super J crown. I want him to be the new Ultimo Dragon. I want him to do something like a shout out to that.
That'd be wild.
Essentially, because man, I think it would be awesome. And I think now is the right time to do it, too. I think wrestling fans who are currently, a lot of newer age wrestling fans are currently deep diving on stuff from 90s, from WCW, from New Japan, from all these companies. I think this would be the time to pull it off.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Yeah. It'd be
Absolutely.
fun anyway.
It would absolutely be fun, and I feel like because of the advent of social, here's one of the positives about social media. Like I don't like social media in general, and I go back and forth about deleting everything I have. But one of the positives about social media that I really appreciate is a lot of younger kids that weren't even alive when I was a teenager. Like I said, I'm 37 right now, and there's a lot of kids that I see on Instagram that are like, "Whoa, wow, holy crap! I didn't realize that Great Sasuke had like 12 belts. Oh, holy crap! I didn't realize that Liger was a heel in the mid 2000s." And I feel like a lot of these things that may have been forgotten because a lot of these awesome magical moments in Japanese wrestling history were kind of lost to the tape trading era that I grew up in.
Yeah.
Where back then you had to like pay a money order, a check just to get a tape from a crappy website if there was one, or on the back of Pro Wrestling Illustrated. And now you're seeing younger kids learn like, oh wow, like there's so many innovators that were around before, you know, the AJ Styles, before the Kenny Omegas, before the Okadas, before, you know, the Hiromus, before all these like megastars of today. Like these guys that you love so much now, where do you think they got their inspiration from? And you're seeing so many people like get turned on to like watching All Japan of the 90s, which was, in my opinion, probably the best wrestling in the world you'll ever see in any generation. Was 95 to 2000 All Japan Pro Wrestling, you know. And it's really cool to see like a lot of kids kind of get turned on to stuff that they weren't even alive to see. I mean, I remember I was 12 or 13 and I saw the Ultimo Dragon with the J Crown belts, with all 12. Yeah. I saw him walk into Norfolk Scope in World War III against a young Rey Mysterio with all of those belts around his arms and his chest and his waist with Sonny Ono. I remember that. A lot of kids don't remember that. And it would be really cool, like you said, to see a guy like Leo Rush pull that off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think right now is the perfect time to do it because so many forbidden doors are being opened now.
Mm-hmm. And like, you don't need to do a whole 12 or 13 because it's not viable to do that anymore. But even having 5 belts, like that's a lot of belts, man. It would be enough, in my opinion. But other main storylines from Castle Attack.
Well, before we get into those main storylines, did you guys, JP and Blue, did you guys want to talk about? We talked about this just us in the chat we have for Tiger Driver Radio. We were discussing Nakashima on the very first night of a Castle Attack, which was February 14th, when they broke his arm, and I thought that was a little bit of a. I don't know if you guys wanted to get into that of what we were discussing of Iomura and of breaking that kid's arm.
I don't know. Do you? I rewatched that clip like about 10 times.
I heard, but I haven't seen.
Yeah, it was a pretty nasty break. It's really easy to miss because it happens quickly, and then you realize, okay, something's wrong because he's not moving.
Okay.
But I don't know if it was just a matter of I don't know if I'm completely convinced that it was deliberate versus it was just bad positioning and he let his arm drag on the ground like that and get caught up. I don't know. I don't know if it was just more circumstantial than anything. I mean, but at the same time, based on Uemura's reaction and kind of his apathy, I was kind of shocked. Like, wow, like he's just kind of standing like I don't care. I don't care that you just broke your arm. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was a very weird and uncomfortable thing to watch. And
yeah, you're right. It might have been circumstantial, but from their reaction for both of them, one for Uemura not really, being empathetic or anything, like you just said, and Nakashima just like quickly getting pissed off because probably he saw his reaction. It's a little you wonder like, hey, did he do it on purpose or not? But yeah, it was really gross. I just watched it once and I couldn't watch it again because I haven't seen an injury like that in a while, like that bad of a break.
Yeah, he's out for a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That stuff is never ever fun. That's always terrifying to see.
Yeah, so it wasn't fun, but getting to the fun stuff, as far as the main storylines of Castle Attack, the very first night of Castle Attack, which is on February the 27th, you're gonna basically have Chaos having matches, different matches with Bullet Club. And I know we were all talking about this earlier about Chaos, and we thought about them and Bullet Club. So I think this is gonna be, I mean, this is gonna tell us maybe who's the best between both stables. What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, the feud's been going on forever between Bullet Club and Chaos. Right? So
Yeah.
I feel like we're finally getting to that point where maybe they might be getting close to a blow off between it, yeah.
Yeah, because this night is just gonna be them Chaos versus Bullet Club, and it's just gonna showcase both stables. Of course, the very first match you're gonna have on the 27th is gonna be Kojima and Tenzon and Tanahashi versus the United Empire, Jeff Cobb, Osprey, and Great Khan.
Yeah.
Because of the following night, you're gonna have Great Khan versus Tanahashi. But other than that match, it's just gonna be singles matches, like I said, between Chaos and Bullet Club, and it's gonna be intense. I think, in my opinion. Like you just said, Jared, this feud has been going on for a long time, and this is one of the times that you have to, we're the best, and the other needs to, find something new to do or get out of there. I mean, that's not gonna happen, but yeah, I mean, I think this is gonna be a great night of matches. The very first match is gonna be Yoshihashi versus Tangaloa. I know how much JP loves Yoshihashi.
You can't see his face right now, but he looks.
Yeah.
He's got like this deadpan stare.
I think I really like Yoshihashi now, JP. So you're gonna hate me more because I just said that, but I think I'm a Yoshihashi fan now. And the next match is gonna be Goto versus Tamatanga, and
That's great.
yeah, that's gonna be great. Goto is one of my favorites as well. And the one that's going to be cool, although Chase Owens is not one of my favorites, but Yano versus Chase Owens for the King of Pro Wrestling trophy, the strap match, that's going to be cool.
I love the King of Pro Wrestling trophies basically become I don't want to call it the comedy division, but it kind of is. Where like the matches are kind of silly and you kind of get to see sides to certain wrestlers like Okada or Suzuki that you don't really see often. Where it's
if that's because Yano keeps winning though.
Yeah, well that's true. Yeah,
like, if Yano wasn't champion, then it wouldn't be comedy.
Yeah, that's true.
No. And that's why I kind of like that Chase Owens has kind of brought some seriousness to it. It's like, all right, you know what? We're going to do a Texas strap match, and I'm going to slap the hell out of you. And I'm looking forward to seeing Yano kind of get his ass kicked because I don't think it's been a while that I've seen Yano get his ass kicked. The last time he got his ass kicked was when, like, 2-3 years ago when Suzuki was just pissed off that he actually lost to him in the G1. And then once King of Pro Wrestling rolled around, he just completely, like, demolished, Yano. Mm-hmm. And, Yano pretty much just was, like, on the ground, like, cowering because, Suzuki was just kicking him the whole match, which was funny. It was funny in extra, but, I mean, he really was shooting on it. It looked like he was really shooting on him pretty bad.
I do like the concept. There's definitely a lot of experimentation they do with this, like, with these matches, where I think he had, like, a power slam. Whoever gets a power slam first wins match with Fale and stuff like that. It's it borders on silliness sometimes, and then I'm sure that's a good way to introduce a lot of gimmick matches in Japan. And it's one match a night. They're not doing like 2 elimination chambers on the same night kind of deal, so it's fresh. It's something different, and I honestly don't know how the actual Japanese fans enjoy it, if they do like it or if they don't. They've always loved Yano though, so I think that's the reason they keep it on Yano. He's just the guy that can carry those comedy matches.
Yeah, and then the last 2 matches that we're gonna have on this first night of Castle Attack, it's Ishii versus Jay White, so that's gonna be great. Especially because everyone thought Jay White was gonna leave New Japan, and seeing him on this Probably it's going to be an intense match. It's going to be cool. And the last match is going to be Okada versus Evil.
Yeah. That
Yes.
one's a little take it or leave it for me. I'll be honest.
Yeah, at this point, it's like whatever.
I think Evil lost a lot of steam after losing the belt after like a month, and he's just kind of been in limbo. He feuded with Sonata. I wish they would have kind of. I mean, it was a good match in Wrestle Kingdom, but I feel like that ended, and now he's just picking fights with Okada, which, I mean, if I kind of want to say that Evil and Jay White are going to take it, and maybe Okada. There's been rumors of him coming to the U.S., the Forbidden Door, and all that. So maybe that'll be his opportunity to kind of get out of New Japan for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of agree that I think Okada might need that, and it's not to say that I'm bored of Okada. No, I just think that if you rewind look at Okada's trajectory since coming back from Excursion since 2012, he's been like on a rocket. He's always been prominently featured. He especially had that amazing 2-year record-breaking run, and then of course ending with that trilogy with Omega. And then, like I said, I think he's done almost everything you can do at this point in his career. And it's not to say that he doesn't have more years ahead of him that are going to be amazing, but I think with the Okada character, like I said, we'll kind of get off on a sidebar for a second to kind of make it a little bit more dynamic and interesting for his career and the storyline of Okada's career is he will be the one person to take when it comes to the Forbidden Door. I personally think in terms of story, he will be the one person to take the belt off of Omega in the United States from New Japan. I think he'll be the one to do it. I think he'll be the big name to break that Forbidden Door. I think Okada needs something new. And I think that would be such a logical next step to, all right, you guys saw Okada versus Omega in New Japan. Now let's see it in AEW. And let's see Okada expand his appeal into the United States market.
Yeah, that definitely would be cool. Way better than the Red Balloon Okada.
Yes.
I was not a fan of the Red Balloon Okada. I was like,
I remember people popped so hard during Wrestle Kingdom when he took off his pants and he had like the trunks, because he used to wear pants during his Red Balloon age, and then he switched back to his trunks, and people were like, "Yeah, that's so silly." And giving Evil the win here finally, I think, gives him a little bit of traction again, where it's like, okay, depending what comes out of Naito and Kota's match, if that's going to happen. Would Evil be next in line, or would he have a good New Japan Cup run? I think the Cup's coming up. I could be wrong. The COVID has kind of messed up their schedule. Usually it's around April time, right? But at least, I think Okada would be able to kind of, like I said, go on his excursion if that is going to happen. And then Evil would kind of be able to have a good run because he pretty much be the ace right now, right, of New Japan. So that's kind of how I see it happening. But obviously, you never know what can happen with New Japan. Evil might lose, and then I don't know what's next for Evil after that.
Yeah.
Relegated to a thug.
I think it would be important for Evil to win at this point, though. I mean, I think he kind of needs it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's lost some trajectory. And then on the lower card of things, I mean, it's kind of interesting how they're playing this storyline, to kind of get off of the Evil topic for a minute, how they're playing the storyline of age is finally catching up with Tanahashi, and they're acknowledging it. Like, they're finally acknowledging it, because for a couple of years they kept pushing him as if like, oh, he is still on Okada's level. But you could see, based on how bad his knees are beat to hell, like, could he still go? Yes, but you could tell he was hurting. You could tell he was hurting a lot. And it's kind of cool to see that, all right, even though Tanahashi is still winning titles, I mean, he's now currently the never openweight champion, he now has to go against all these younger guys that are hungry just for a title, period. Mm-hmm. And it'll be interesting how they're going to play a storyline of, like, it's kind of like old man Logan. Now it's like old man Okada. It's like Okada, his body is breaking down on him, and people, it's really obvious in front of the fans, and you can no longer deny it. Even he can't deny it. He's like, yeah, my knees are shot, and but I'm still trying my best to pull out that amazing match, which it's kind of goes back to see, like, the wisdom of guys like Suzuki, where Suzuki doesn't have to do a lot of flying and high impact moves, but the guy's in his early 50s, and he still wrestles just as violently as he did when he was, wrestling for Pro Wrestling Noah in the early 2000s. I mean, the guy still is a savage, but you could definitely tell he paces himself, and it just goes to show you that there is a lot of wisdom in slowing down.
Yeah, and it's funny you just mentioned Noah and slowing down an old man, because if you notice, this is really off the topic, but the Great Muta is now the Noah heavyweight champion.
And I know a lot of people were really pissed off about that, about how he Go Shiozaki, because right now the same run that Okada had, several years ago is the same kind of run that Go Shiozaki is having right now. And the fact in the middle of all this, bam, Keiji Muto won that title and then took that away from him. I mean, I know we're getting off topic, but it just on one hand, it's cool because now he's one of the few people to win the world title from New Japan, All Japan, and Noah. Not many people have done that. Kojima is also one of those people that has done it. I think Kensuke Sasaki has also been another one that's done it. But I think, to kind of caveat off of that bit of news, I think it's so important that right now, I think, is the time where you got to start making stars. You can't keep relying on Okada, even though Okada's still young, but you can't keep relying on him. You can't keep relying on Naito.
You need to build new stars. Don't be WWE.
Yeah, exactly. Even though Ibushi is amazing, and I'm so glad that he's having this run now. At the end of the day, he is 37. He is not 27.
Yeah.
And I really think it's important right now you need to get the next set of 3 to 4 top main event guys and start pushing them, because sooner than later, Okada will be done. I think he'll be done sooner than later. Suzuki, guys like Suzuki will have no choice but to slow down and only make guest appearances. Okada will finally be in the prime of his career, I think. But you want, like I said, I think right now is the time where you got to start building stars. You got to start bringing those young lions back and start building those guys up.
Yeah, and to segue back into Castle Attack, and speaking about stars, let's talk about Yoshihashi and Goto on their tag match against Tangaloa and Tamatanga.
Oh man. Someone that could definitely benefit from an excursion would be Yoshihashi. Send him somewhere else.
That's not bad, actually.
Send him somewhere else. Send him to DDT. Maybe you'll get some personality out of him. I don't know.
So night 2 Castle Attack, we're gonna try and go through that one a little quickly because this is running a little long, and I don't want to. I have to start watching time on the channel now.
No, definitely. Yeah. I mean, we just mentioned that one match with Yoshihashi and Goto versus the Gorillas of Destiny, the heavyweight tag team championship. And the other match is going to be Great-O-Khan versus Tanahashi, which JP kind of talked about Tanahashi and him. And then you have the, of course, a 3-way match we just talked about.
We talked about it earlier as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the final match, I'm excited to hear your thoughts about this match, but Ibushi versus Naito.
Yeah. Yeah. First of all,
suicide.
I assume everybody loves the story aspect of him only wanting the Intercontinental, right? Like,
I don't get that.
What? How do you not get that?
I don't get that. I don't, like, in my head, why wouldn't you want to just get the IWGP Heavyweight title back? Just that
title has done nothing but treat Naito like shit. That title has done nothing but destroy Naito's career, and therefore Naito doesn't give a crap about it anymore.
In that sense, you're right, because it was that very title that cost him his main event spot, in 2012, where it ended up being Nakamura against Tanahashi at the time, which was an amazing match. But, I mean, you're right. I guess if I was Booker, I would have booked that differently. But I understand it. I understand it. I just don't like it personally, but that's just me.
Storyline perspective, I find it amazing personally, but
I agree with Trevor, but I'm a big Naito mark. I mean, but it's kind of he had one of these moments where it's like he had both belts for the longest time. He could have unified them since
Coulda.
last year, and he kind of hesitated on it. And it's kind of like it's kind of he's facing a part of his career that which the IWGP Intercontinental belt was. It's like it's a part of his career that he's not proud of, but he's still not willing to let go of it. And whether he wins or loses this match is whether, you know, so there is that kind of tension in the match where it's like, you know, he loses this match and then Kota's going to unify it. The thing is, it feels a little bit early on Kota's career, like on Kota's reign, where it's like, was he a heel now? Because he's trying to unify the belts, or is Naito the face? It's kind of playing in that gray area where it's kind of a face versus face, where, you know, Kota just wants to be great. He wants to be the god of pro wrestling, unify the belts. And Naito's kind of having this realization where it's like, I can't let go of this. You know, I can't challenge for both belts, but I can challenge for this. I can save the Intercontinental belt. So it's kind of hard to call. Like, I don't know who's going to win. It'd be interesting to see Naito pin the champion and still not get the world title, right? That's going to be odd, but it's happened before. You know, people have held more than one belt at once, and usually they pull double duty. But I think not giving him or having him not defend the world title is fine. It's just the way of writing off the double champion. Like now it's either he's gonna separate it or it's gonna unify. So it's interesting. I don't know which way to call it. Obviously, I always want to root for Naito, but that's because I'm a mark for Naito. I don't know what do you guys think is going to be the result of this?
It's hard to say. It's really hard to. It's hard to say on a storyline front because the way that they're booking it, you think, okay, Naito will definitely win because the Intercontinental title was his title that made him who he is. Like that was the one. That's the belt that treated him kindly. You're right, but at the same time, like Ibushi has been on such a hot streak for the past couple of years that he finally is the man. I don't know if he will necessarily lose. I'm also just flat out concerned of their health because every single damn time these two get in the ring, they do things. I'm like, why? Why are you doing this? Like, you're going to break your neck. You're going to kill yourself. You're going to end your careers. You know, you're going to shorten your careers. I remember when I saw them, and I was there at the Madison Square Garden show for New Japan Pro Wrestling 2 years ago. When they did the Ring of Honor show. I was there live, and that crowd gasped. And mind you, this is a New York crowd. A New York crowd are the most jaded, fucking entitled, opinionated assholes in the fucking wrestling world. Like that in Chicago and Philadelphia are like the most asshole fucking crowds in wrestling. And I have never heard so many New Yorkers gasp so many times in that match because everything they did to each other was like, oh shit, oh, and I'm worried. Yeah. I am worried for both of their. I'm worried for Naito because you don't need to like land on your neck anymore. I'm worried for Ibushi for the same reason because if you land on your neck, then your reign is done. And that's.
Yeah, you don't want to see that.
I refuse to call it right now because I don't know. I'm just worried. I'm genuinely concerned for their well-being because they always beat the shit out of each other for real.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. Personally, it could go either way for me, and I'm just curious to know where the storyline would go. Whether Ibushi wins and unifies the belts, or whether Naito wins and saves the Intercontinental. I'm good. Like I'm good with either storyline. Yeah. Like this is win-win for me. Jay, you're the only person we haven't heard yet on this one, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'm with you guys. I could go either way. I'm rooting for both of these guys. Using the JP's idea he had earlier about Okada. I mean, if Naito wins, I mean, Ibushi could go now to AEW and defend the title over there too, and then it'll be interesting to see like the Golden Lovers having a feud in AEW. So that would be cool. I mean, either like I said, either one I'm rooting for. I think I'm rooting more for Naito to win. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yep. So really fun talk. Loved having the three of you guys with me on this one. Next episode, we will be going over, of course, New Japan Strong with the Kenta and Moxley match, as well as we'll go over some of the results from Castle Attack itself. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you very much. Guys, is there anything you guys want to plug? Anything you guys want to bring up?
Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to plug in our social media, Facebook, Instagram. Look us up on Tiger Driver Radio. On Twitter, we're on Tiger Driver Rad1. That's RAD1. So look us up. We haven't done a show in a while, but we're looking to come back. We're still trying to decide when we are officially going to come back, which maybe a date in March. Or later or sooner, I don't know. We're still trying to decide. But we'll announce it definitely on social media. But thank you for having us, Trevor. This was great, man.
Absolutely.
Love having you guys on, and like, if I could have all three of you guys on for every New Japan show going forward, I'd be more than happy.
Absolutely. Anything we can do, we'd be happy to do. It was awesome to be on this show.
Okay, well, like, share, subscribe, everybody, and join us again next week. Have a good one.
See ya.